the wall of arrogance. The morning air in the city felt like ice, a sharp contrast to Elias Thorne's perfectly tailored wool coat. Elias didn't just walk, he occupied space. As a top-tier hedge fund manager, his time was measured in thousands of dollars per second. To him, the world was divided into two kinds of people, those who made moves and those who were in the way. Today, everyone was in the way. The rain was drumming against the glass of the Daily Grind, a popular downtown coffee shop, making the atmosphere inside humid and crowded. Elias stood in line, his jaw tight, eyes glued to the flickering stock ticker on his phone. Directly in front of him stood a small boy, perhaps 10 years old. His clothes were clean but faded, the fabric of his hoodie thinning at the elbows. The boy, Leo, was meticulously counting a small pile of nickels and dimes on the counter. His hands were shaking slightly, not from the cold but from anxiety. Outside, through the foggy window, an elderly man in a tattered army jacket sat on a bench, shivering. Leo was trying to buy a hot cup of coffee for him. Elias let out a long, theatrical sigh. He checked his $50,000 Patek Philippe watch and tapped his foot. "Listen, kid," Elias snapped, his voice cutting through the soft jazz playing in the background. "Some of us have million-dollar meetings. Either pay for the drink or move aside. I don't have all morning to watch you play with spare change." The shop went silent. Leo looked back, his eyes wide and brimming with apology. "I'm sorry, sir," he whispered, his voice cracking. I'm 50 cents short. I just wanted to help him." Elias didn't feel pity. He felt inconvenienced. The cold transaction. The barista, a young man named Marcus, looked between the arrogant executive and the trembling boy. Before Marcus could offer to cover the difference, Elias stepped forward, his shadow looming over Leo. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed a high-limit black card onto the counter. "Just pay for whatever the kid is struggling with and add a double-shot espresso for me." Fast. He didn't look at Leo. He didn't smile. He didn't even acknowledge the "thank you so much" that Leo gasped out in pure relief. To Elias, this wasn't an act of kindness. It was a transaction to buy back his own time. He grabbed his espresso, not even waiting for the receipt, and pushed past the boy. As Leo ran out into the rain to give the hot cup to the old man on the bench, Elias was already on a phone call, shouting orders about a hostile takeover. He watched through the window for a split second as the boy hugged the old man, but Elias simply rolled his eyes and stepped into his waiting limousine. He had no way of knowing that the image of that boy would be the last piece of home he would remember, before his life turned into a living nightmare. The Great Collapse. 6 months later, the throne of Elias had turned to ash. It started with a whisper of an investigation, followed by a full-blown corporate scandal. Elias had been framed by his own partners. The men he called brothers had used him as a scapegoat for a massive embezzlement scheme. Within weeks, his assets were frozen. His luxury penthouse was seized. His friends vanished like mist in the sun. For the first time in 20 years, Elias Thorne was walking the streets not as a predator, but as prey. Winter had returned to the city, but this time Elias didn't have a wool coat. He wore a cheap jacket he'd bought from a thrift store with his last $20. His hair was graying at the temples, and the arrogance in his eyes had been replaced by a hollow, haunting hunger. He walked past the Daily Grind, the same coffee shop where he once reigned supreme. The smell of roasted beans was a torture. He stepped inside, not to buy a premium latte, but to escape the biting wind. He sat in the far corner, clutching a newspaper he'd found in a trash can, trying to look like a customer so he wouldn't be kicked out into the snow. He was a ghost in his own city, the ghost of Christmas past. As Elias sat there, trying to calculate if he could afford a small cup of water, a shadow fell over his table. He pulled his jacket tighter, expecting a security guard to tell him to leave. Instead, he saw a young man in a crisp professional uniform. It was Marcus, the barista from 6 months ago, but now he wore a badge that said General Manager. Marcus stared at Elias for a long time, his eyes searching the broken man's face. "Mr. Thorne?" he asked quietly. Elias flinched. "I don't have any money," he rasped, his voice ruined by the cold. Marcus didn't leave. Instead, he pulled out a small rectangular object from his pocket. It was a framed receipt dated 6 months ago. "Do you remember this day?" Marcus asked, placing it on the table. Elias looked at the receipt, the one for 2 coffees. "I remember being an arrogant jerk," Elias muttered, looking away in shame. Marcus pulled up a chair. "That day you didn't just buy a coffee. You saved my brother, Leo, and you saved our grandfather. That coffee gave him enough warmth to make it through the night before we could get him to a shelter. But more importantly, seeing a man like you help someone like us gave Leo the hope to keep going." The architecture of fate. Marcus leaned in closer. "My grandfather passed away a month later," he said softly. "But he left us a small property we never knew about. We sold it and used the money to buy this franchise and 2 others. Leo is in a top private school now, and he talks about the man in the suit every single day. He thinks you're a hero." Elias felt a sob rise in his throat. "A hero? He was a failure. He was a beggar." "I saw the news, Mr. Thorne," Marcus continued, pushing a warm, steaming cup of coffee toward him, the most expensive blend in the shop. "I know they did you wrong, and I know you have the best mind for business in this state. I've been looking for a chief financial officer to help me expand these shops into a national brand. I can't offer you $1 million bonus yet, but I can offer you a seat at the table, a fair salary, and a chance to rebuild." Elias looked at the coffee, then at Marcus. The steam rising from the cup felt like the first bit of warmth he had felt in a lifetime. He realized that the 50 cents he had thrown away in anger had built a bridge that was now carrying him over the abyss. He took a sip, the bittersweet liquid clearing his head. "When do I start?" he asked. Marcus smiled, handing him a pen. "You already did."